This video is a continuation of my playthrough of Axis Empires, and now I'm up to the summer of 1943, and we start on the European map, and the Axis chooses a new strategy, or I should say reveals the strategy, Operation Citadel. And so this card allows Germany to place the C headquarters and the F headquarters in the delay box, as well as they place one SS infantry unit, and then during the replacements segment, Germany can deploy 6 panzer units and 12 infantry units. And there's a historical note on this strategy. It's from a quote from Himmler, and it's an awful quote. Whether nations live in prosperity or starve to death interests me only insofar as we need them as slaves for our culture. Otherwise, to me, it's of no interest. End of quote. Nothing else major happens, even though this card is played, and I don't have a whole lot to report on. The Western Allies play Operation Husky. As we know, this historically was the invasion of Sicily, and the Allies, with this card, add forces during the replacement segment, and Britain deploys 2 armor units and 1 infantry unit, and it allows the United States to place 2 armor and 2 infantry units. And then with this, I was able to make landings on Sicily. As you can see in the picture, these were not historical landings. I landed here at Palermo, not in the Syracuse, Gila area. So that's pretty much what the Allies did. There's a historical note on this card. It's a quote from FDR, where he said, "We are making sure, absolutely sure, that this time the lesson is driven home to them once and for all. Yes, we are going to be rid of the outlaws this time." So we hope that proves true in this game as well. The Soviet strategy is Rumyantsev offensive, and Russia, the Soviet Union, adds the 4th Ukraine headquarters and the 9th Guards Army to the delay box. Those will be available later. And then during replacements, they place 6 tank units and 12 infantry units directly to the map. And this card also has a historical quote on it from Stalin, which says, "Comrades, the enemy has already felt the weight of the crushing blows of our troops. The time is approaching when the Red Army, in conjunction with the armies of our allies, will break the back of the fascist beast." End of quote. So I didn't record a whole lot of information on the European game for the summer of 1943, but it was no doubt, it wasn't extremely significant in any of the progresses made. It's mostly preparation for future pushes. But now we're going to continue the summer of 43 by going to the Daisenso map and take a look at the Pacific Theater in China. So during May and June of 1943, the Japanese mandate marker is placed on the 3 victory point mark. So that's going to make an Allied victory fairly difficult. Then we go to the strategy reveal, and Japan implements the puppet government strategy. So essentially the Japanese install collaborationists in positions of power in their sphere of influence. And then during the political segment, the government rolls on the political table, and the result is a government setback. So that's basically no result. Then the Japanese army in Rangoon, which has been cut off by the Commonwealth along the railroad has to use a supply fleet to maintain the position. So the Japanese commander then converts a number of infantry positions into fortresses, so they have a little bit better defensive benefit, but there won't be much offensive capability with that. So you can see in the picture here, this is a picture of Rangoon and what's happening there. You see how the Allies are really isolating this position in Burma. Then we go to the Allies part of the turn, and they reveal their strategy, Operation Cartwheel. And this is going to open a series of operations which are aimed at isolating Japanese forces in the Southwest Pacific. And I don't have much picture of anything happening in that area. But the Allies do attack the Japanese 14th Army in Rangoon, and that is what is pictured here. And the position does hold up. You can see the Japanese do have some Air Force presence, which helps them, but they suffer heavy casualties there. Also, the nationalist Chinese attack the Japanese near Canton, and I think that is the first army there that they are attacking. The defenders are forced to retreat out of this. Then we go to the Soviet Union. They play the Lanchow Agreement. So Mao Zedong negotiates a truce with Japan, and then the Soviets get to roll on the political events table, and it results in a Chinese incident. So what ends up happening is the infantry unit in Hong Kong evaporates, and you can see in the picture there, that's an important location that the Japanese were controlling that would belong to the British normally, and the Soviet Union's agreements have some sort of effect on this. Then we go to the June and July part of the turn. This is still in the Pacific, and the Japanese player consults the political events table, and they roll a Chinese incident. And the result is negotiation with Communist Chinese, and so the Japanese commander is able to use a supply convoy to provide resources or forces to Rangoon. I'm not sure how successful this is going to be in the long run. And then a convoy also moves some troops into Okinawa. The United States, during their part of the turn, deploys a submarine fleet to the strategic war box. So that's going to hopefully provide some damage to the Japanese. The British commander sends more troops to India, and these land in Calcutta. You can see that in the picture here. Calcutta is in the upper left part of the picture. Then U.S. forces are moved into Rabaul. That's not pictured. And the United States launches another attack against the Japanese 14th Army in Rangoon, and this time the defenders are destroyed. They surrender to the British and American forces, and Rangoon is liberated. And you can see that's one of those green strategic value hexes. It belongs to the British, so that this is important that the Japanese not maintain that hex for the Allies. The Soviet part of the turn is simply just more political activity, so they roll on the events table. It's conflicting plans, no event. So the significant happening here was the fall of Rangoon, of course. Then we complete the summer by going to July and August of 1943. And the Japanese forces in China continue to fall back, so the tide really is turning in China now. They just have bled off so many troops, and they're involved in so many different fronts in the Pacific that they just can't maintain even static positions in China now. The troops in the South Pacific also are redeployed, and the Japanese players able to mobilize more replacements in Japan itself. And then we go to the United States and the Commonwealth part of the turn, and they attack the Japanese position in Papua New Guinea. And Lae falls, but both sides suffer heavy losses from this, so it wasn't without cost. But the Solomon Islands and Papua New Guinea are now under Allied control. And then in China, the nationalist Chinese attack the Japanese infantry near Canton. This attack is repulsed, and this time the Chinese suffer heavy casualties. And then we go to the Soviet part of the turn. They roll on the political event table, and the result is Chinese inertia. So that is another no effect result. You can see in the picture here, I've got New Guinea, a picture of New Guinea and the Solomon Islands. And you can see the United States are now in the strategic hex in Rabaul. So that was an important turn for them in the Pacific. But that brings the summer of 1943 to a close. So I thank you for watching this video, and stay tuned if you would like to see what happens in the autumn of 1943. Have a great day.